You're listening to Real Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out realradio.com. Welcome to the Real Estate Rundown, episode 196 with Owen Dashner and Kosh. Owen, I had a great meeting with a local investor named Jerry Banks.
I am really surprised that I don't know this guy. And when he first mentioned his name, I think I told you this.
Joseph A. Banks.
No. It was. There's Jerry.
Joseph A. Banks.
No, it's not Banks. Jerry is his first. Jerry Ryan, the clothing store on 78th and Dodge.
Okay,
yeah,
yes.
I thought that was the guy, and I was like, oh yeah, I know who that guy is. And you're like, nope. And then Anyway, so how was the meeting?
Funny thing is, I got my first suit from that store. Just so you know.
You did?
Yeah,
Jerry Ryan.
Yeah, I needed a suit. Jerry Ryan was like one of my mom's clients.
Was it double breasted?
No, but it was I got a 3-piece.
Oh, that's even worse.
I needed one for my fraternity, and we had like this initiation night. You had to have a suit, and I'm like, Mom, I don't have a suit. And
so you got a 3-piece. Yeah. Wow. Did you have a cummerbund too?
No
bow tie.
No, but the vest and the
I know what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, I love a nice vest.
You should wear it. You should wear it to the next real estate rundown.
Okay.
Yes. Let's make this happen, people.
I usually wear when I usher at church and stuff. That's like I put the 3 pieces on.
Still?
Yeah.
It's kind of outdated, buddy.
I like it. It's classy.
Okay.
Anyway, met with Jerry Banks. He wrote a book called Eat, Shit, and Smile.
Okay. I think it's more eat shit and smile.
That's what I said.
No, you said eat, comma, shit, comma, and smile.
Oh,
There's a difference. Hey, commas matter.
Okay.
Let's eat kids or let's eat kids. There's a difference. See the comma there?
So I am about halfway through this book. We're going to have him on in about a month. And so just get a little preparation. I'll pass the book on to you when I'm done. It's a good read so far. And but I mean, local investor, honestly, if I met you at mid 60s, close to 70, I think that the way his portfolio looks is probably the way yours is going to go in a lot of ways. So I saw a lot of similarities. I felt like I was meeting with an older version of Owen.
Oh, he sounds cool.
He was really cool. And it was like an emotional, we had all the different stages of conversation, so
the stages, the 7 stages of grief.
Is that what it is? Yeah. 7 stages of talking to Ted. But one thing that he brought up was that one of his apartment complexes down in Midtown Omaha has formed a union.
Is that his?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And I'm glad you connected the dots there. I thought this was 2 separate things.
No, I said so. According to him, there's now 3 apartment complexes that have joined the Omaha Tenants United. So all the tenants become a union inside the apartment complex, and they pretty much create their own demands.
This is fascinating. Please go ahead.
And he was talking about this. I'm like, okay, so what happens when you just don't renew everybody?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that's pretty much your only option. I mean, some of the stuff
give us the highlights. So I know we have a list here of the tenant demands.
So there's like 16 demands to be completed within 2 weeks.
Okay. Pick out a few of these so that the listeners can enjoy.
Complete plumbing inspection, lead-based paint testing, complete HVAC inspection and overhaul. Pretty much they have a radiator system when they want HVAC.
Okay.
Conduct a mold inspection. Despite being charged for pest control, they say they still have pests, and a couple units have roaches. I'm sure that has nothing to do with the tenants in the place. They want the windows replaced. They want the fire escapes added to the property.
Well, they want them tested and make sure they're functional and so forth. Yeah.
They want to have a service provider for the new internet that's at least 100 megabytes per second. They want upkeep of their stairwells with cleaning services. They have all the balconies inspected. They want to make sure that any UNMC students get the discounts they're promised. They want to have all the washers and dryers checked and maintained and replaced. Here's a crazy one. They want a moratorium on rent increases for 3 years.
Based on what? Does it say? Like just because? Like don't increase our rents, bro?
They says there's just an excess amount of rent increases.
Okay.
They want automatic lease renewals for all tenants. So pretty much no month-to-month options. If it is a month-to-month, they want a $20 minimum increase.
Well, okay, I do want to pick that one specifically because if I remember correctly, they cited the fact that the month-to-month rent pricing is $250 above what normal lease rates would be.
Said
Fact check me on
some
this.
tenants have had up to $250 extra month to month. So to me, that means that it's a really bad tenant and they wanted them out.
Maybe. So, okay. All right. What else you got?
And then they wanted, right now they pay $50 for parking. And they want all parking fees waived, and then they want every parking spot allotted to like, hey, parking spot 1 goes to unit 1, and so on.
Okay, so they want assigned parking for the entire property.
Yep.
So that because I'm sure they're irritated with people getting the best spots and having to deal with that on their day to day.
In there somewhere, it also talked about how they have radiator heating in their units.
Okay,
the radiator heating is noisy and clanky, and which affects their health because they can't sleep at night.
Okay, it's affecting their health because they can't sleep. Okay, got it. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you could claim the same thing for different reasons.
Okay, so I think I got a couple different sides of this. I think that every tenant has the right to have a healthy, great living place.
Okay.
You also pick the place you live.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you did all this, I don't know what the current rent is, but I'm sure the current rent doesn't make sense.
No. What I'm hearing when you're
want to go from a C class to an A class.
Okay, this is actually interesting because joining us today is our esteemed producer Aiden Bear on a hot mic.
Hey,
Aiden's here. So Aiden currently is a tenant, correct?
Yes.
And do you rent an apartment or a house?
House.
Okay, so you rent a house. So this is a little bit different, but we have Aiden on the hot mic here to give us a tenant's perspective on what us greedy landlords, what our point of view is.
Yeah.
So this will be interesting. So I will tell you what was going through my mind, Ted, when you were reading off all these bullet points. Is I was associating a dollar amount to every line item that you did.
Yeah.
Like, because that's basically what you're talking about.
Yes,
here.
right?
Right. So in landlord speak, well, I shouldn't say all of them. I mean, some of these are very valid demands, right?
Yeah,
you want
to they should have in the first place.
yeah. So
But we don't know the backstory in any of this.
of course, yes. So this is, maybe this is anecdotal. And Aiden, as a tenant, what are your expectations? So when you are signing a lease and you're going into moving in your stuff, what do you expect a landlord to handle? What do you want your house to do? What are some of those things? And what are your complaints right now? Because you could unionize. I'm just saying.
then you find out. Then you find out that Aiden's one of your tenants.
Oh yeah. For those of you listening, be forewarned here.
It just depends on. It's different with an apartment versus a house, but I feel like a landlord is less involved when it comes to a house because
I would agree with that.
Yeah, the tenants should take care of the house themselves. But in like an apartment's perspective, like a landlord for sure should do some of the maintenance.
And you've lived in an apartment before, correct?
I have not actually.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay. Wow, we're spoiled.
So I guess the question is, have you dealt with issues that you feel like your landlord should be taken care of that has not taken care of yet?
Not really. I guess.
So you have a good landlord.
Yeah, I have a pretty decent landlord actually.
Who is your landlord?
Who is my landlord?
Yeah, do you know the owner of the home?
Yeah, I do. It's actually the mom of one of the tenants.
Okay, I'm sensing he wants her to remain nameless. Is that fair to say?
I'll just say her.
You gave her a compliment.
I'll throw out her name. Gina St. Cyr.
Gina St. Cyr. Don't know her. She sounds awesome. Does she have any other rentals out there that you're aware of?
I'm not sure at all.
Okay.
I haven't talked to her about it.
Maybe we can get her on a podcast.
There we go.
Maybe.
But okay, so that's interesting. So don't relax over there. You're still on point. Okay, so Ted, what goes through your head when you hear this?
I mean, immediately I'm like, what power do they have? Because yes, if you have a union at a job, you stop production ends. There's legal rights when it comes to tenants. So what are they going to do? If the whole building quits paying, you go to eviction court.
Okay, so let's explore that for a second. Here's the disclaimer. We're not attorneys. We're not accountants. Like, don't listen to us. We're two schleps on a mic here. talking about our opinion.
That's like a rap.
Two slaps on a mic.
You love to rap.
Two slaps on a microphone. So you're saying what rights do they really have? Like, this isn't a union where you have a bunch of electricians that band together and they say we need better pay or better benefits and we're going to strike and we're not going to perform our job. This is tenants. They live in a property. If they're unionizing, what is their recourse is the question. So it's don't pay rent, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
if our demands are not met, we're not going to pay rent. So let's play this out a little bit. So let's say they're like, hey, everybody, Joe, Susie, Mike, you guys, we're all on the same page here. We demand these things need to be done. We're not going to pay rent this month. So they all get together, band together, and say, we're protesting this. We're going to not send you a rent check.
There's a lease in place that says
Yep.
if you don't pay, there's fines.
So now enter the union factor. And so the question then becomes, if this goes to court, and it probably will, the fact that they're unionized, does that give them more power? I would assume so. And they could treat this differently as they wouldn't normally, because you would have a tenant that's not paying you a victim and the rest of the building is paying rent or not paying rent, and you adjust accordingly as a building owner.
But couldn't I just take them individually to court because it's an individual lease?
I don't know, because couldn't they claim, well, we're part of this overall organization that's Tenants United, and now we have certain rights under that purview that says you can't evict one of us. We're now all of us. It's like Legion.
I feel like we need to phone a friend and bring an attorney in.
That would be good. Mauricio Raul, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But that's the thing. I think this would really muddy the waters, and that might be a reason why they did it. I mean, there's a reason you unionize, right? Because if they were at the same risk as they were before, why bother? So I would think this offers them an additional layer of legal protection where they could say, you are now part of this larger, group of individuals, and as we treat one, we have to treat all. So that was my thought on it. Is like it has to offer another layer of legal protection. And to explore this further, this is like I mentioned with my comment about dollar signs, like replacing the radiator heat.
Oh my gosh.
With HVAC systems. I mean, can you imagine the cost? I mean, like, I've owned radiator places. They suck.
Mm-hmm.
If I could eliminate them, I would, but there's a huge cost.
I mean,
especially depending on how many units
your water damage on your commercial property is, and you kept it.
Yeah, we kept the boiler system, and it was 2 years old.
Okay, so I have an answer for this, in my opinion, but I want to hear yours.
Okay.
Let's assume you have a Midtown. Let's not drop names, but you have a Midtown apartment complex, and this happens, you get this letter. What do you do?
Call my attorney immediately.
Okay. So
I'd be like, what am I dealing with here? What are the possible bad outcomes? Like, how can I protect myself? Like, what should I do? What should I not do? I just get legal advice. I mean, that'd be what I would do first.
Man, okay. So being the smaller time investor, this is how I guess I would approach it. I off the top of my head, I think I would just go into the building and request a meeting and then just have a real conversation. Like, hey,
be like, look, guys, I'm a real person. I'm not just some random corporation. Like, I'm a real guy. This affects me just like it affects you.
Let's talk.
I want you to be safe. I want you to,
because dropping $300,000-$400,000 is
it'll wreck you.
It's not there. It's not feasible.
Yeah. So your approach be basically try to get a more of a common ground and say, listen, you have valid concerns. And there were several of these in there that were like, yeah, I mean, there are things that are,
there's things in there I would have to talk to and I purposely did not mention the property management company that was named in that. But okay. Oh, and this is how I'm going to handle this immediately.
Okay.
I'm day one at getting this. I'm like, let's meet today.
Okay.
And I'm going to go meet them, and I want as many tenants there as possible.
Are you bringing anybody with you, like a wingman, like an attorney? Or
if I had a property manager, they better be there.
Okay.
Because I want them to hear this, right?
All right. Yep.
So I'm going to like, first off, anything that's property management related, those items need to be addressed immediately. And those concerns.
Maintenance requests.
If
those are obviously.
My hallways aren't clean?
No, I'd be mad too.
I mean, as often as the hallways need cleaned, they need to be cleaned. Period. And right now, I only have one building, and I clean those hallways. I have it scheduled every month.
Okay,
but
is that enough?
It is.
Okay.
If I go in there in the wintertime and where we get some salt and stuff, I'll grab the vacuum and do it myself.
Okay.
I don't really care. But if you got multiple properties, that's a different situation, right? But regardless, it's important to me for those areas to be clean. So I'm going to address everything property management related immediately first. Like, hey, without discussion, these are your concerns. That's done. Next, I'm going to go, is lead-based paint as part of that? Yeah. I'm not even going to dabble with that thing.
Okay. Meaning you're going to take care of it.
Yeah. I'm going to have it tested.
Okay.
And so, yes, I agree with you. If you have concerns about lead-based paint, I'm going to do it. Now, if there's promised discounts, I'm going to look into that. That's a property management related issue, right?
Yes.
And then they're talking about noises with the radiator systems.
Uh-huh.
If I have to flush that, if there's some maintenance that needs to happen on it, let's handle that. Because replacing that system isn't going to be an option. Sometimes it's almost impossible.
Yeah, you have to run duct work
Yeah.
in buildings that sometimes you can't. Like you'd have to
A PTAC in every unit is
yeah. I mean, you're talking like probably $7,000 just to get PTACs, or maybe 10, depending on how big the apartment is, how many rooms.
I think your number's low.
It might be.
Yeah.
But
because then you got electrical upgrades and everything too.
Well, you have electrical upgrades, and then you have, people that aren't happy, because PTACs are basically like, you go into a hotel and that's the thing below the window where it both heats and cools, and people complain about those all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, pick your poison on that. Heating and air is a nightmare when it comes to cost.
Totally. So
okay.
So I'm going to address that. Now we're getting into like parking, the moratorium and all this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to sit there in front of them like, okay, guys, what do you guys expect here with the HVAC upgrades and all this? Okay, Owen, you're the head of the union here, okay?
Okay, let's do this.
Okay, so
You're
Owen,
going down, Ted.
Owen, here's the deal, man. I can do all this stuff, but then right now, we consider this a C+ class property. Would you agree with that?
I don't know what C class is.
Okay, so C class is going to be, it's not a brand new build.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we don't have brand new HVAC systems. We don't have the modern stuff. If this was an A-class property, Owen, these units in this part of town would be renting for $1,500 or more. Would you agree with that if it's a new build?
If you say so.
Okay. You're a debater.
I'm taking this literally.
I know you're a debater. But your rent on this particular unit is $750 for a one bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I can go ahead and do this and do all the stuff that's on your guys' sheet, but I cannot make sense of these numbers.
What do you mean you can't make sense of it? Are you just a greedy landlord?
No, I can't afford it.
Okay.
Because
now we're getting to the real.
Because the amount of money that I'm going to have to put in this unit would make this a B+ property, a property that's been completely renovated, with modern technologies, modern HVAC systems. And that's why the people that our tenants that are in here, our great tenants that are in here, are getting the prices they're getting and getting the deal because we have a radiator system.
So you're saying I get what I pay for. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay.
But I do agree with you that in regards to the property management issues, I'm 100% on board with you. In regards to anything that's health or safety, I agree with you. And if there's promised pricing, I agree with you. But I can't do all this stuff and fix everything and do more.
And still charge me $750 a month.
Because I'm going to be losing money. It'll be negative every month.
Greedy landlord.
So here's the deal. If I did all this, I would have to start I would have to change rents or I would have to change my tenants.
Well, okay, but why am I paying $50 for a parking spot? I mean, like, I have to park there. Why do I have to pay that?
Because there's certain people that are okay parking on the street, and there's certain people that don't have cars.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think it would make sense to charge that fee on top of your rent.
Okay, I'm going to hit pause on wearing my tenant hat.
Okay.
So this is an interesting thought experiment, because there's a tendency when you own a larger multifamily building or even mid-size, whatever. And by the way, do you know how many units this property is that we're talking about? Okay.
I could look it up, but
there's assuming they have enough tenants to unionize. I'm gonna go on a limb and say it's probably I don't know.
I think it's 50. I think it's 50 units.
Okay, 50 plus units.
Yeah.
So there's enough tenants there that are voicing their concerns. They banded together. They formed this union. They're making a list of demands. This is interesting because I think, sometimes landlords will be like, oh, I could just tack on a $15 CAM fee, a common area maintenance fee, where I'm cleaning the hallways. Everybody needs to pay for that because you're all using the hallways. And I'm going to tack on a $50 a month rent for a parking spot fee. And I'm going to tack on this for this, and I'm going to tack on this. So the tack-ons get super annoying for tenants, and they really add up. So they're like, yeah, that's great. I'm paying $750 a month, but all your extra fees and crap, and now I'm paying $1,200 a month because I have to pay a pet fee, I have to pay a parking fee, I have to pay a cam fee, I have to pay like breathing air fee, like all this stuff, right? So there comes a point where you hit real resistance from people that, they're just like, okay, yes, I get my base rent is low, but you're still surcharging me for all this other crap. And let's say as a landlord or as a property owner, you have to make a certain amount a month because you have to pay your nut. You have to pay your debt. You have to pay your operating expenses. Otherwise,
and repairs and whatnot.
Yeah, repairs, all of it. Like, on average, when you put all of the properties in the United States into a bucket and boil it down, the average operating expenses range between 40 and 50% to operate multifamily housing, period. Full stop. That's a fact. Mm-hmm. And the 40 to 50% range depends on the age of the building. Are you self-managing? Do you have all of it in-house vertically integrated? Are you using a third party? Like, it's all that into one bucket. And there may be people that are like, no, I never pay that much. I self-manage. My expenses are like 15%. No, they're not. Okay. They're really not. This is a large scale study over large amount of properties, thousands and thousands and thousands of units. That's a fact. So you only have so much money to pay your debt on it, right?
Yeah.
And let's face it, we don't do this for free. You got to put money in your pocket. So you have to have a cash flow component of it too. It's not, it's not subsidized housing for everyone where it's like, oh, I'm short this month. I can't pay my operating expenses. I'll just get money from somewhere. That's coming out of your pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you double down with that and say, now I have a gigantic CapEx event because I have to upgrade the entire HVAC system and electrical and eliminate these cam fees and all the other stuff, there just hits a point where it doesn't make sense for you to do it.
Okay, so here's the biggest question. How do you prevent a union from coming in your place?
Buy a 4-unit property. buy something smaller. Like, I guess my quick answer is don't buy buildings that are in that category where they're class C minus with old HVAC systems. And you have to factor that in. I mean, there's the pain in the ass factor and the feedback factor you're getting on owning them.
What if you do surveys
of like tenants?
Yeah. Like you have a yearly, every 6 month survey that gets posted on your door. And you take that feedback as an owner, not a landlord, not as a property manager. So it's almost like a test of
how are we doing?
Please,
what could be better?
I am the owner. Please give me feedback on what you think of this. And I think, in my opinion, that attention to detail, assuming that things were actually addressed, would probably be your best answer to avoid something like this happening.
I think that's a great idea. However,
dang it, I thought I won something here.
No, there's always a but. My but is, the thing is, if you do that, you have to be prepared for the fallout, which is you may get a common theme where people are like, the HVAC system is way too loud, or, the windows don't open properly, or there's like something like a systemic issue that keeps coming up as a comment. Then you have to say, ugh. Now I have to really pay attention to that, because a lot of times
is that a bad thing?
Well, it means money for you.
I mean, if you get this over and over again,
you know what the problem is.
I mean, as long as you're starting to show.
It's a fine line though, man, because like, picture this. So like, you get all those annoying surveys from companies, right? They're like, how'd we do today? Or like, how likely are you to recommend DocuSign to one of your friends? It's like, never. I will never have a comment, like a recommendation for an operating system or a software. That doesn't happen. Quit doing this. But if you get those type of comments regularly and you don't address them, that's another thing, right? So if I'm a tenant, I get that survey, I'll be like, oh, this is cool. Like, they actually want to get my feedback, and I provide it, and you don't do anything about it, then that's going to piss me off even more, probably. But like, well, they're aware because I told them. And then I start talking to my other tenant friends in the building, and they're like, yeah, I said the same thing, and they didn't do anything about it.
Okay, so let's play the devil's advocate. You get the survey, and you have an old building in Midtown,
okay,
and you haven't replaced all the windows.
Yep.
And that is an expense that you just cannot take on at once.
Yeah,
right?
Let's say it's $50,000 to replace the entire building windows.
And that seems low, right?
Maybe, depending on how big it is.
So this comes up. I think that my next move, assuming that I agree that these windows need to be replaced, is, do I start with windows that are the worst? Maybe just not do the whole building.
So do you kind of piecemeal it one at a time?
Yeah. Like, great, because not every tenant's going to say it's windows. But maybe there's certain windows that are the worst, and those are the tenants that are complaining. I have a building, and the windows have been brought up numerous times, right? So I replaced 1 unit's worth of windows. But in the meantime, while I'm trying to afford it, I also paid my maintenance guy to go in and actually plastic wrap all the windows.
Okay.
To make it so it's not so bad.
Okay, so you Band-Aided it.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's front face the building. Let's get those windows done first.
Okay.
And then we'll start moving on from there.
All right, so what I'm hearing you say is you're addressing their concern, immediate concern, and they're saying these windows suck. My electricity bill is crazy high during the summer.
And my reviews are coming from Airbnb on this building.
Yep. And so you're plastic wrapping the windows, and if I'm a tenant, I may say, Aiden, let me ask you this. So, like, if you're living in your rental house and you're like, dude, I can literally see the outside through the window, like on the sides. You know what I mean? It's not properly insulated. My electric bill is crazy high during the summer. My gas bill is crazy high during the winter. Help me out. And then they're like, yes, we hear you, but we can't do all that at once. But we're going to come out and we're going to put plastic wrap on the windows. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's a temporary fix.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they should try and fix the windows as fast as possible.
If I'm hearing you right, you would say, okay, thank you for paying attention to this, but I'm not going to live with plastic on my windows for 2 years while you're trying to get your shit together and get the windows paid for to replace. So it'll buy you some time. Is that more or less what you're saying?
Believe it or not, we do have windows at our place that are plastic wrapped downstairs in the basement because of the cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. So I think you buy some time, mitigate the initial concerns, put a plan together. If I'm a tenant, and this, I've lived in a bunch of apartments, so I would say I'm appreciative of the fact you put a Band-Aid on it.
But you're listening.
Don't let it
go.
Listening. Yes, and I would like to hear your plan on when you're going to address replacing them.
Yes.
So
totally.
I like it. I like it. All right. All right, well, we got that big problem solved.
So I think the best thing you can do to prevent a union from forming in your place is communicating, listening, addressing, figuring out the things that should be fixed and that they have legitimate concerns on, and also trying to work with them on the rest. Because I don't think when they put 18 options out there that they expect all 18
No,
options.
it's anchoring. I don't know this for sure, but I would assume it's an anchor, and they're asking for everything with the hopes of getting some of it.
But I think people just want to be heard. And, and maybe these tenants in the end have not been heard for years.
Yeah, so the takeaway here is like communication is going to be key with your tenants, especially with maintenance requests that are, let's face it, easily solvable, or, you can at least show them the progress, tell them what the plan is for when their real concerns are going to be addressed, and then follow through on it, execute, right? That's the message here.
And follow up.
Yeah, and follow up. Now, man, that's crazy. I got to be honest. If like I had a bunch of tenants unionized, I'd be like, oh my god, like I'd be a little. I'd be on edge.
Are you going to take any advice from this?
Probably not. No. All kidding aside, like I try to definitely with the ones I self manage. I'm super fast at maintenance requests. So if it's an easily solvable issue, I'll get somebody right away over there. That's how I try to mitigate, is be super responsive and communicate. And the ones that I don't have direct line of sight to, which are managed by property managers, you have to really be on the same page with the property management company and say, listen, take this seriously. Tenant requests, you and I have to operate like we're getting an emergency phone call sometimes with some of these things. Kill them with kindness, communicate, say, hey, I hear you. I understand. Here's what my plan is for mitigating your concerns. So I think communication solves a lot of these issues, especially with tenants, people that are living in your joint.
Key.
Yeah.
I had a tenant.
That's enough out of you, Aiden. We've had enough.
I'm kidding. I can't experience this. I had a tenant call me and they're like, hey, we put a complaint in about the washing machine not working. And this is a midterm, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, let me know. So I reached out to the property management. Hey, what's going on? Hey, we got a maintenance guy coming over. And I'm like, okay, let me know, because I have a wash machine ready to be delivered. I'll have Lowe's over there and by tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'd be happy with that. And that'd be a good feedback.
Maintenance guy is like, I got a guy that can get this taken care of, and I'm waiting on him. I've reached out to my maintenance guy twice. For the property management company.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I haven't got a message back. It's not been fixed. They got a newborn child. I just want to replace the damn thing and move on,
Mm-hmm.
because that's how we are, right? I'm like, let's go. But also, if I can spend $100 versus
$1,000,
$800-900, that's a big difference,
yep.
right?
Yep.
So, I'm not right. And it actually, all this kind of like made me think about this again. I'm like, where are we with that damn washing machine? I'm ready to go. Let's get that thing replaced.
Yeah.
So it's heavy on my head right now, but we move faster than sometimes the system.
Okay. Speaking of moving fast, I have a
golden nugget. And this golden nugget is brought to you by JM Real Estate Capital.
Hi, it's Rob, JM Real Estate Capital. We're the money guys that you need to know for all your real estate investments. Talk to us. We can do what your local bank can't or won't do. We don't have millions. We have trillions with a T to lend. 844 we close, or go online, jmrecapital.com. That's jmrecapital.com. JM Real Estate Capital, smart solutions for the real estate investor.
This is a little bit unrelated to what we're talking about, but this week I was dealing with a situation where, so I brought this up yesterday at the little coffee meetup group we had, Caffeine and Cap Rates. Please attend. I had a family member. So my brother-in-law worked for me for a number of years. I brought this up before. He lived in one of my rental houses. He passed away in November of last year. And he's been my handyman, my guy. He did a lot of stuff that I'm now kind of struggling with, or just handling things like punch list items, like going out. He's great with tenants. Like if I had an occupied property and they're like, oh, my screen door, hydraulic isn't working, I'd be like, hey, Chris, go take care of this. And he just like handle it. And he's great with tenants. So I have a huge hole in my like business life with him being gone, and personal, obviously. But he's also done a lot of clean outs for me over the years. So I would buy a hoarder property or something. And he liked the decent money that he can make. So like, he can clean out a house in a day and he can make, a couple grand. So he knows a lot of times I'm just like, when in doubt, throw it out. Right. Like, so get a dumpster there, just throw it away. Don't worry about it. But the problem is he's kind of I'm not going to call him a hoarder.
He kept a few things.
He saw value in things that other people didn't see value. The other people being me. There'd be a house and there'd be like a ton of crap in it. I'd be like, look, man, you're welcome to keep whatever's in here that you want, but I want it gone, is the message. And that wasn't a major problem until he moved into one of my rentals. And then now all that stuff was left behind when he passed away.
The most valuable of it all.
And the problem is, and obviously I'm making light of this. It was a really tough time in my family.
I'm trying to make light of this too, because
no. Yeah, you're totally fine. But so I had this rental house, and one of his like things was, and he had stage 4 cancer, so it was a long time coming. He outkicked the coverage on their prognosis by a couple of years, so he lived a lot longer than they thought. He was a great guy, but he left behind a ton of stuff. And one of his things was he didn't want it, like that was his thing. He's like, I don't want this stuff thrown away. I want it donated. And that leaves you in a tricky spot when you're the person that has now a house full of stuff that you're like, I don't know what to do with all this. And my first inclination would be just like, okay, let's donate what we can, get rid of the rest, just toss it out and, move on. Right. If I didn't know him. But now I obviously have to honor his request. And now I was struggling because like, there's like a gigantic dresser and like another, like all this heavy furniture stuff. And I'm like, they're not nice. They're just big and functional.
Goodwill will take it all, man.
So here's where I'm going with this. So today's gold nugget is I was struggling to find a place that would come and pick up the stuff, because otherwise I'm left with trying to load it or pay somebody to load it up and donate it somewhere and all that. I found some organizations with the help of the Omaha RIA. I made a post and I said, hey, does anybody out there have any, places, nonprofits, whatever, that will come out and pick up things that are donatable? And I had some responses on that. They were super helpful to me personally. And I wanted to just give you some kudos for running that Facebook group. So the Omaha RIA Facebook group. And there's a couple organizations in here, a few of them that I wanted to call out because they were very helpful to me personally. And I think anybody out there that is in buying real estate in that type of business, you're going to run into some situations where there's stuff that you could donate, but it takes a lot of work to do that. You got to find the right place, the right person, the right whatever to get it done. And I found one, and I called them on Tuesday, and the next morning they came by and picked up all this stuff. And there were like 15 furniture items. There were a whole bunch of household stuff, clothing, like you get it, right? Like a whole household. They came out, loaded it all up, and they were done in, 20 minutes. Now, the problem was I had to bring it all out to the curb, which is a whole other story that I won't get into. But I want to call out specifically the PVA organization, so the Paralyzed Veterans Association. By the way, this is local, so this is Omaha, Nebraska. But they were fantastic, so responsive, so nice on the phone. They were great. And they did what they said they were going to do. I just had a really great interaction with them. So PVA, I want to call them out specifically. Also, I wanted to shout out to Moving Veterans Forward, Midwest Removal, Bethlehem House, and the Furniture Project. Those are all nonprofits, and I think, and they will all come and get stuff that is donatable. And so, you get it, right? It's functional. It's not, it's used, but it's not trashed. And so forth. So call those organizations if you have a house that you're doing a clean out on, because people can use that, right? They can use those things. They can use a dresser, a desk, a furniture, piece of furniture, whatever.
I remember when my grandfather passed away, he was an extreme hoarder, but he went shopping every day. So the whole house was full of new stuff, but it was also heavily mice infested because, because there's so much in there. And I remember my dad calling, I believe it was that veterans group that you mentioned. And there was so much stuff. They brought a full size semi.
Oh, yeah. And they got it all loaded
filled up the whole semi,
amazing,
top to bottom, with brand new items. And they said it was the single biggest donation they've ever gotten in history.
That's great. Like, kudos to you for doing that, because a lot of times
800 pairs of brand new shoes that are in the boxes that were never worn.
Oh my God. Wow. He had a problem.
Well, he was just bored. He went shopping all day. He had plenty of money. And
I bought a house. We call it the Barbie house because this lady had an obsession with Barbies years ago. It was total hoarder situation. Couldn't even get into one of the bathrooms, one of the bedrooms.
Probably a lot of money in there.
Yeah. Oh man. There was, like boxed up Barbies, but there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these things, all kinds of Barbie memorabilia. But anyway, so typically when I buy a hoarder house like that, I'll make the, sell, donate, and trash. Those are kind of the three categories I keep it in. And some of the stuff is definitely sellable. Some of it you're like, man, I could probably sell this, but it's a garage sale situation where you're like, oh, this thing's probably worth $100. And then somebody comes out and they're like, I'll give you $5. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the pain in the ass factor. But so like the sell, donate, keep, that's a good tried and true thing. And the donatable items, it's a lot of work. You got to load it up, you got to ship it, or you got to take it over there, but they will come and get it.
On the Barbie house, if you actually went through and scanned all those items and did a garage sale, you probably would have made more money on the garage sale than you would the flip.
Reason you're exactly right. The reason I brought that up was because you mentioned he was buying new stuff, and this person was buying. There were not only all these Barbie memorabilia, but it was also they were buying like a whole bunch of jewelry at Dillard's. You remember Dillard's?
Oh, yeah.
And they would have like these $50 gold, 14 or 18 karat gold necklaces. And there's like boxes and boxes and boxes of these. And I'm like, they're never been opened. The price tag's still on them, but I don't know what to do with them. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm going to sit there in a garage sale and be like, hey, everybody, I got jewelry.
You showed up to
I'm all blinged out. So anyway, check out any of those nonprofits that I just mentioned. They make life so much easier for people when you're dealing with a situation like that.
I remember I was selling a hoard house for somebody. Well, the mom was selling the house, and he didn't leave his house very much. But in the basement, he was a huge drone guy.
Oh.
He was heavily obese, and he couldn't leave the house.
So he was a shut-in.
He created commercial-sized drones, and then he launched them from his back deck, and that was his way of getting out of the house.
Interesting.
But when I remember when we were going through the house, I mean, this was back in the day, but at that time, there was, I don't even know, tens and tens of thousands of dollars of drone equipment, remote control cars. It was the craziest house I ever walked into just because of the amount of money in drone stuff.
That's so wild. Yeah, you can tell a lot about someone after they pass or they're gone and they leave their belongings behind, like what they were really into, what their life was like, and so forth.
What's the largest dumpster you can get?
40-yarder, at least around here.
Okay, so there was 240.
Those are 8 feet tall, by the way, and I think 22 feet long, if memory serves. I've gotten a lot of these.
2 40-yard dumpsters of empty liquor bottles in that property.
What?
So the hoard upstairs, which was on what you couldn't access anymore, it was full 5 feet with just liquor bottles that were all empty.
The craziest one I ever had was the very first house that Brandon, my flipping business partner in Red Ladder, the very first one he got under contract. It was a hoarder house, and this guy was brilliant. He had a JD, so he was an attorney. He was an engineer. He had like multiple degrees. He had a PhD, but he had a brain injury, so he had fallen and I think hit his head, and so he started developing these really weird, eccentric traits, and he just became reclusive, and he was basically a hermit in his own house. So much so that MUD, which is the local gas and sewer and water provider in Omaha. So we buy the house, and the family is really like skittish about letting us go through all the rooms, right? And I'm asking Brandon this because he's dealing directly with the people that inherited it. And I'm like, well, I don't understand. Like, why can't we go in the one bedroom? And they're like, well, we think he may have hurt himself in that bedroom. I'm like, what does that mean? What does hurt himself mean? So turns out what happened was he was outside, fell, hit his head, and then was bleeding like everywhere. I have a head injury, you bleed a lot. He goes in and it's like arterial spray on the bathtub, like a whole bunch of blood in the bathtub.
We've never talked about this.
Oh no. And on the vanity, so I walk into this bedroom, right? And I'm like, I have never seen this house. Brandon's seen it. And he's like, I couldn't get into one of the bedrooms. And I'm like, what do you mean you couldn't get into it? That's weird. This is over the phone, so I can't picture what he's talking about. And he goes like, well, it's just like, it's like filled with wood. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean it's full of wood? So like, yeah, there's like a room full of wood. And I go, I just can't picture what he's talking about. So I go over there. We're doing our first walkthrough, and he's right. You cannot at all enter this bedroom. And I picture this. So I'm thinking, oh, well, this could actually be a good thing. I mean, wood's getting expensive. Like maybe it's stacks of wood. Is there some black walnut? Like what are we dealing with here? And he's like, no, it's just like random. And so I go over there, and it's like, picture you were driving along and you saw some pallets that were just sitting on a curb, and you go grab them, and then you bust them all up, and there's like these fragmented pieces. The whole room was jammed full, not in any orderly fashion. This is just like stacks of random wood everywhere, trash wood. You could not fit a freaking playing card in between all of the stuff stacked in that room. It was nothing I'd ever seen. So
I hope he took a picture.
So I have a few, not like I would now. I would totally like go all in on content here. So we're going through this. I walk up to the house, right? And it's iced over. It was one of those typical Omaha winter storms where it rains like a crap ton, and then there's snow on top of it, and it's super crazy slick. I fall and like smoke my head on the ground. Like I fall again going up and into it. Like it's crazy slick. I get in and I'm like, what in the hell am I walking into? It was the creepiest deal ever. So I go into this master bedroom.
This is after you own it.
Yeah, I'm walking into it for the first time, and I'm entering the forbidden room, right? They're like, don't go in there. He hurt himself, blah, blah. And I got to see this. I walk into this room, and it's like Dexter. There's like black plastic all over the walls, right? The master bathroom is right there, right? So it's a, typical, primary. It's a primary bedroom, primary bathroom, whatever. And I keep smelling the smell. And I'm like, what is that? I mean, the house smelled terrible to begin with, but I'm like, I keep noticing this distinct iron smell, right? The bathroom is like, I just mentioned, arterial spray on the walls. Like, I'm like, oh my God, this is like a murder scene. Like it was like Dexter, no shit. So I'm like, what am I going to, I don't have a clean out guy for this. And I called several people, and they came and took a look, and they're like, nope, we're out. It's a hazmat situation at that point, right? So I go and buy rubber gloves. I go and buy, bleach or whatever it was I was cleaning it up with. I cleaned that crap myself. So I had these gloves on. I'm cleaning blood off of the bathtub and all this. Crazy. So I call MUD and I say, hey, we just bought this house. I want to get utilities turned on, right? In our name. We just bought it. And they're like, okay, can I put you on hold? And I'm like, sure. Okay. I was on hold for like 30 minutes waiting for somebody to answer. But I'm like, yes. Okay, fine. Put me on hold. So I'm on hold for a while, like 10 minutes. They get back on. They're like, so, sir, my supervisor's on the line. I'm like, this is super, super weird. This has never happened to me before. And they're like, so we're going to need to send your request over to the engineering department. And I'm like, why? What? And they're go, well, we show that the house has not had MED on for 12 years. And I'm like, what?
I went through that.
The guy was living there.
Yep.
Right? And I go, what do you mean? The guy was living there. So he had electricity on, none of the other utility services. So guess what? We found a room in the basement that had all of these 5-gallon buckets.
Piss.
They were full of feces and pee. It probably had to be like 20 by 15 room. Like picture an unfinished basement. And it was a whole room full of that. And I'm like, oh my God, what in the hell is going on here? So
this is nuts.
So getting back to the 40-yard dumpster thing. So these are monsters, right? You got to put a lot of stuff into them. I'm still amazed at the liquor bottle store you have. But we filled 7 40-yard dumpsters.
7?
This is a split level house that's probably 1,000. 7 40-yard dumpsters full of stuff, mostly shit. That was wood and random crap that he had just accumulated because he had basically a mental illness that was a byproduct of a brain trauma. And I had never been through anything like that before or since with that much stuff in one place. It was amazing.
Okay, so the worst pee and poop house I've ever had was a West Omaha house. It was a wholesaler brought it to
Which
me.
West Omaha, for those of you non-local listeners, is a nice area. Like this is not a
the newer part of the city.
Yeah, it was all developed out westward. So nice spot.
Okay, so wholesaler brings me to the house. I walk into it, and everything past the entry is full. The basement's full, the top's full, but every bedroom is full of, I've mentioned this before, Mountain Dew bottles.
Oh, yeah. I've had this.
And
too.
I don't know how many thousands of Mountain Dew bottles full of piss there were, but it was everywhere. The showers were full, the toilets full. I mean, like there was rooms full as high as they could possibly stack them. And then I go in one of the bathrooms, and you have your toilet. And then they pooped on in there, and they kept on pooping, and the poop stack was 4 to 5 feet high.
How?
I don't know. Like they stood on the counter and shit, and it went above the toilet. Like it was insane. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And then one of the neighbors was like, "How's it looking there?" And I explained to him like what I saw, and I'm like, "But amazingly, it had like a new furnace, new water heater, all this new stuff in there." He goes, 3 years ago, the city made them clean that out, and they cleaned the whole place out 3 years ago, and then at that point, they put everything new in for them as part of whatever program.
Oh,
and I'm like, "You telling me that place was cleaned out 3 years ago?"
Wow.
And they new windows, fixed everything, renovated it, went through all that process, and it was back to this horrid condition. The toilet stood out to me so bad. And I know for a fact, because I used to document every house I ever walked in, and it would by an address. I'll drive by that place and I'll look up the address, and then I'll look up that file on that. It is imprinted in my brain.
Do you have any pictures of the toilet?
Oh yeah.
Okay, we're gonna post these somewhere. We'll let you know where.
We'll make a social media.
By the way, the house that I was describing, this random Dexter situation, we call it the wood house because of all the wood in there. I have a blog that I haven't updated in years. It's called otowninvestor.com. If you go on that blog, you can find the wood house, and then and the Barbie house is in there too, and the cat house. There's several that I've documented, like all this whole story. So if you want to get a little more info and some pictures on some of this, go check out otowninvestor.com, and then Ted will share some of his toilet.
This is the stuff I miss about being a full-time real estate investor, which I'm putting my focus back into now. But yes, I miss walking some of these fun, exciting properties. Well, as fun as these stories are, and I know we're going almost double our normal time, I think that the listeners are really going to love this. But if you have any feedback on everything you heard today, please leave it in the notes and the reviews. Give us a 5-star review. Like, hey, this was awesome. Oh, this was crazy. Oh, this is my thought on tenant laws. This is what we want to hear.
Yeah.
And when you write it in reviews, that's where we're going to read it. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the love that you give us. And I hope you guys enjoy all the work we do. We're getting close to that 200th episode. It's coming up here in a couple weeks. Yeah. So, but without any further ado, Owen Dashner, we see us out.
On behalf of Rio Radio, Aiden Bear, and Ted Kosh, I'm Owen Dashner. You've been listening to the
Real Estate Rundown.
This episode is also brought to you by PropStream. and magic door.
I think the biggest thing that you can do to resolve unionizing.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, I've been drinking. Sorry. I think the thing that you can do to prevent unionizing. I can't say that word.
Oh man, I love that you're doing this. I'm gonna make a note right now.
Yes, radio and all that up.